Yeah, suicide's always kind of in my on my radar. We've had suicides in my family, and I think, and what I've told other folks is that the most important thing you can do is listen to other people. And the best way to explain it is kind of tell my family story. We had an individual in my family that she threatened suicide so often growing up that we normalized it. And it became kind of the boy that cried wolf scenario, that we didn't believe it would ever happen, right? So you take 20 years of weekly, monthly suicide, not really attempts, but threats, right? Constant threats. And when you normalize it, which I don't think you should ever do, it's, you know, kind of a normalized deviation from normal mental health, it can be dangerous, because I've grown to understand that suicide is not like a mental illness that's necessarily treatable in the same way of like depression. You say, hey, someone's depressed, you can help them get over that. They can find a goal in life, they can find a hobby or passion and get through it. But it's not like that for everyone. And I had a good friend whose son committed suicide, and she explained it to me. She got very involved with survivors of suicide, and it's more like a terminal cancer that folks can have. And if you got to treat the individual in a similar fashion, because there used to be a lot of judgment against people that had suicidal thoughts or that actually committed suicide. For a long time when I was younger, people didn't talk about suicide because they thought something was really wrong with them, especially in this profession, in the military. You didn't want to say that even anyone in your family did that, because they might think, especially immediate family, hey, is this an inheritable trait? Might you have a problem with mental illness if someone committed suicide? So we didn't talk about it. We do a lot more now, which I think is great for the enterprise as a whole. But 25, 30 years ago, we didn't talk about it. So for our family, it was the day that I soloed the T-37, the Tweet, in pilot training. And I was one of the last to move out of the house. When I say out of the house, I was local. I went to Indiana University, but was born and raised in Indianapolis. So I could go home on the weekends. I was very close. I could receive phone calls and talk people off the fence. This individual was someone that you needed to talk to, and we would talk her off the fence a lot, and everything was okay at the end of the day. But at pilot training, couldn't. And I remember telling her, I said, hey, look, I can't answer the phone at midnight the way I was in college. I gotta fly in the morning. But the day Soul the Tweet got back and received a call from my cousin and said, hey, I got some bad news. It still gets to me now, but so he told me, and I didn't believe her or him, that she actually did it. And I think at the time, here's another thing I'd like to pass along to folks. If it happens to you, if you're a survivor, if it happens to someone in your family, you have to mourn in the moment, right? I would say this would go for anyone, even if they're not, if it's not a suicide necessarily. When we're going through difficult challenges in life, and for me, pilot training was tough. It was like 4 years academics rolled into 1 year, and you couldn't pull all-nighters. You had to get your sleep. So it was a different type, and the results of that determine the rest of your career, right? How well you do there. So I compartmentalized. At the time, the Air Force says, and I didn't want to tell the Air Force. This is 1994. I was not going to tell the Air Force that my mother had committed suicide. So they gave me a week off. I said she died. It was unnatural, happened early. Went back and spent a week and determined that she would want me to finish. The Air Force said, hey, you can quit, go get a non-rated job. I thought, well, she knew how badly I wanted, so I'm gonna go through it. But I compartmentalized, and I go, I'm gonna not mourn now. I'm gonna wrap all these emotions in a bag and put it in a drawer, and close that drawer, and open it after graduation. But you can't do that. You really can't. It'll come out in inappropriate ways, which it did for me. And when it's either over drinking or arguing or that kind of thing can come up and have a negative impact on your personality. So my recommendation is to figure a way to mourn in the moment. Because at the end of the year, when I tried to open that drawer, it was too late. You lose that chance to mourn if you wait too long. So back to recommendations for the holidays. If you have someone in your family that has threatened it, and you've normalized it, especially if you're that's just how they get when they drink, that's how they get when they're bipolar. Listening is important. Listen to them. They need to be listened to. I had siblings that all either moved out of state, older siblings that were not available. And like I said earlier, when I was in college, I could answer the phone. I could go home on the weekends and check up on her. And I think when finally everyone was gone and no one could check up on her, she got that empty nest thing. And that was enough to put her over. But I'm still convinced if there was someone that could have talked to her in her darkest moments, which were frequent, unfortunately, but she had this terminal illness that was not going to go away, that could have helped. She might still be around if we were there and able to talk to her. So, again, this holiday, if you suffer from any type of bipolar depression, find someone to talk to. If you know anyone that's got any type of depression like that, make sure you're available. Make yourself available, and don't take the risk of just blowing off and say, I'm busy, I can't be a wingman now, I can be a wingman in the morning. No, if you suspect it, be that wingman, especially during the holidays. I tell you, I came back to the Air Force because it was my family. I mean, I got out. When I say come back, I was active duty, guard, and the reserves. And on active duty, because I didn't know anything, I was curious about starting a business and doing other things in life, and I did that, but I found the communities outside the Air Force didn't have the integrity, didn't have the brotherhood, didn't have the intense core mission, which is national defense and national security. So we've got that unique club that we're in, that fraternity, that brotherhood, and it's a family. It really is, and that's why I decided to come back to it and get as involved as I could for as long as I could and play out the rest of my career. And then, I got the rest of my life to go back outside the fence and do things. So that the question, I guess, is the unique idea of having a wingman, and how special that is, and how valuable it is. Really, again, it's like being in your own gang, right? It's a member that wears the same patch, on their back or their sleeve or their shoulder that identifies you as a family member. And again, there's a lot of integrity there. I can go to my active duty friends, my guard friends, my reserve friends, and even if they're not my friends, if they're wearing the patch, they're going to go out of their way to help you and help take care of you and defend you, right? So this is a battle. It's an individual. It might be an individual battle, but you got battle buddies out there. So reach out. Yeah, I would just say, hey, Team March, happy holidays, have fun, but take care of your family, and listen to family, and reach out, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year and getting back to the mission.